they were cleaning me up and everything. And Mike was watching, and I was trying to watch. You know, I was kind of not with it, but I could hear commotion, and I knew, and I could see all of a sudden that Mia was just on her own, and everyone was gathered around Everly. Hey guys, it's Joanna from Nesting Story, and I am joined by my husband, Mike, who most of you know, but I thought I would include him in today's story because he gives a great, different perspective than I do. So if you haven't watched it yet, a couple weeks ago I did my twin pregnancy story, and I left it off right where I was about to give birth, and this is the next chapter. We'll go for a little trip down memory lane. Just a heads up, I know some of you are a little younger, or a lot of you like to watch our videos with your kids. This will be a story about major surgery, and we'll try not to get too graphic, but it may not be something that's suitable for all audiences, so viewer discretion is advised. So let's start where I left off. First of all, before we get into the actual birth story, how are you feeling like the night before we had our babies? I think you were excited. I think you were just like, let's do this. He's always been like that.
I worked that whole day.
Yeah.
I didn't come home early that day. I don't know. I just was like,
day.
it was another day. Well, it was because it was a scheduled one.
Yeah.
This we knew, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna work that day before, and then that night we're just gonna do our thing, and then tomorrow's, 8 o'clock, done.
Yeah. So that brings me to a good point, is that if you're new to this channel, these are our third and fourth kids. Our first two kids, I was able to deliver vaginally, and my OB was totally fine with me delivering our twins vaginally as long as baby A was head down. It didn't matter how baby B was because I had what she called a proven pelvis. So we were hoping for that, and every ultrasound, I think the whole time, they kept flipping and moving, and it was pretty close to D-Day, which was ended up being 37 weeks, 4 days, that Mia decided to plug the exit with her bum. So we had to have a C-section. So there was no choice in the matter. And leading up to it, I was really curious because I've never had a C-section before, and I was picking our friends' brains about what it's like, and they were really able to fill me in, and I think it was very similar to what they discussed, times, a lot of drama because it was two babies. So it was a scheduled C-section like Mike mentioned, and even though I always thought I was going to go into labor, I didn't dilate at all. 37 weeks, 4 days was the day that we went in. So we woke up bright and early. We had to be at the hospital by 5 a.m. So we had all our babysitters in place and everything for the big kids, and took some last minute belly shots, and off we went. So I think we were pretty calm going in there. I think I've had surgery before and things, so it's like an out of body experience.
I don't even know what I was gonna experience when we were in there. I mean, it was the birthing ward, yet we were gonna have surgery. Yeah. So, come to the same room that you were in before, but then this isn't where the magic's gonna take place.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It was exciting.
So we went in. I registered. I think you registered. And I kind of just stood there like, what's happening? I was given my hospital gown. I got changed. They put me in a bed, and Mike sat down in a chair beside me because they gave you your gown later, right?
Later, yeah.
And the first thing the nurse did was give me my IV and then prepare the incision site, which, by the way, is below the bikini line, so you can wear bathing suits after. That was something I was very curious about. And then we waited, and as we waited, one team member after another kept coming in. Remember, that was one of the craziest things.
But no doctor.
No doctor yet.
Nurse, anesthesiologist.
There was the guy, which our friends had warned us about.
Yeah,
the guy, which I didn't know, is the guy that comes and pushes the baby down towards the incision, like during a C-section.
Like, so that's his only job. He is the guy.
That's not his name, but we call him the guy.
That's the nurse even said, that's the guy.
That's the guy. So I guess he must have big muscles or something. So nurses came in, and when the nurses would come in, they would say, I'm with baby B or I'm with baby A. They would tell us which team they are on, which was very interesting and very surreal, just to see all these people, dedicated anesthesiologists and everyone. So after a little while, I think that was a couple hours. So we got there in 5, 6, 7, 8 was when I really went in. So we were there for quite a while, but it didn't feel like it. It felt like time was flying.
It was really quick, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're always doing something. It wasn't like you were at the hospital waiting.
No,
you were,
there was a lot to do.
Right?
Yeah. So just before I went in, the OB came in. Now we had a last minute schedule change, and so our OB that I had my entire pregnancy wasn't the one that delivered. We knew the one that was going to deliver, so we were okay with this schedule change. And so she came in.
But she came in like high heels,
Yeah.
like dressed up, ready to go out.
Yeah.
And,
kind of her
and
MO. She's
yeah,
awesome.
even though it was like 8 in the
Yeah.
morning, she just came in, and then we saw her walk by, and 2 minutes later, she was in her scrubs back in the other door.
And then she was like, I was studying your ultrasounds last night, and I'm really concerned how we're gonna get baby B out. So as I said, baby A, who ended up being Mia, had all the real estate here and was plugging the exit with her bum, but Everly was squished way up into my ribs, and she was really concerned about how she was gonna get baby B out. So she gave us a heads up that if she has trouble getting that baby out, even using gravity, which I didn't realize, it's a hydraulic table, so they strap you to it and the table can move to use gravity to tip your body down and get the babies out. She said if that doesn't work, she may have to do the incision this way and then one this way, which is apparently very hard to recover from. So I think I was just so in the mindset, like, let's just get these babies out safely. I was like, whatever you have to do, just do it. So I was going into my C-section with this news kind of dropped on me right before. So that was a little bit scary.
Yeah, she said, you know, I may get baby A out, and then there may be 5 minutes or so before baby B, because if I have to do that, the vertical.
Like 5 to 20 minutes, up to 20 minutes.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but she said then she would have to, because she's doing the vertical incision.
Yeah,
but
she said don't be alarmed because it could be a bit of an ordeal to get that second baby out. So that was a little scary. So when we found out about Everly having a hard time coming out, I had some plans of having delayed cord clamping and skin to skin right away. And when we found that out, that there could be a problem, that's when kind of all those plans went out the window. And we were just like, mission was to safely get our babies out. And then by this point I was ushered into the operating room. Mike was told to wait. And when I went in, they sat me on the table and started doing my epidural, and I started to shake. And this is when I think I honestly went into a bit of shock, and I was okay. I knew I was going to be fine, but it's like I had to almost disassociate myself at this point. So throughout the entire ordeal, everyone was trying to distract me and make small talk, and I couldn't string together sentences and answer questions. I needed to just kind of be in the zone. And so shaking, they gave me my epidural, and then they put me on the bed, strapped me down. And one of the first things I remember walking into that room was the lights, the setup, but seeing these 2 warming beds. And every time we've had a baby, I think it's that moment when you walk into that room and see that warming bed ready for a baby. You're like, really? There's gonna be a baby after this? So I could see everything set up for these 2 babies, and in case there's any complications. So it was a big ordeal, and I think I was just trying to take it all in at that moment. So they strapped me down, and by this point I was laying there, they put the sheet up, and I was looking over at the warming beds, and that's when I decided I would focus on these warming beds, because I couldn't see anything here and there's nothing over here. I could feel them with the iodine cleaning my belly, and then I could feel these little pokes, and I was like, oh, are they testing to see if I'm numb? I think I should let them know that I'm not yet. So I said, just in case you guys are testing me, I can feel that poking. It was just a light poking, but I could feel it. I said, maybe you should turn up the epidural. I said, no, we've started. Your incision's made. That's what you're feeling. I'm like, okay. So they were well on their way to getting baby A. That's when they brought Mike in. So what were you doing while all that was happening with me? You were getting your outfit on.
yeah, I had no idea what was happening. That was the only time that we were waiting, or I should say I was waiting. At that point, that's when you were, then you left the room and you were brought to the operating room. And I was left in the room all by myself. And the nurse just said, stay here, we'll be back in a bit, and somebody will come get you when she's all ready. And it seemed like forever, but maybe it was only like 3 minutes, but 3 minutes is a long time to wait when I know, okay, I got a watch on him, it's ready to go, we're going to be happening soon. I want to be there. I don't want to miss this.
And so, you were giving your...
Well, then so someone came in finally and gave me my my operating room, my scrubs, I guess, to put over top, and a mask and a hat.
Yeah.
And little booties, which is kind of cool. I don't think they fit on my shoes. And yeah, and then another couple minutes went by, and I saw a nurse that I recognized. I said, hey, should I be going in? She said, yeah, they're not ready yet, don't worry. So they hadn't forgotten about me. That's not what it was. It just seemed like forever. But then someone did come and get me. They brought me in, and I came in the back door, which ended up being kind of to your side.
To my right,
just beside the warming beds.
And the warming beds are here.
So I came in, and then they kind of ushered me around the white sheet that was blocking your view of everything going on. Mm-hmm. And the anesthesiologist, I believe, was standing on your left side, and he said, "Okay, so there's a stool here. Just sit right by your wife's head and hold her hand and give her encouraging words, and you know." When things happen, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
And at that point, like you had said earlier, they had already cut you open.
Yeah, they were started. They were well on their way.
Yeah, which I was kind of disappointed because I'm not squeamish, and I wanted to see it. He said, "We're ready to get out baby A. Do you want to have a look?" And I said, "Definitely." So I stood up and I looked over the sheet, and then I didn't sit back down. And the anesthesiologist, I guess they're worried about me collapsing, and he kind of his hand hits my shoulder and he starts pushing me. And I said, "No, I'm fine." He goes, "I don't care. You need to sit down."
Because he was like, "You're the fourth most important person in this room."
I'm the last and most
They'll
important.
Just step over him. That's when I was almost right after you entered and sat down is when I had that intense pain in my shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really scary because up until then I was okay and I was handling everything, and even the OB, she was trying to make small talk with me and I stopped answering her, and I remember her saying to you, like, she's not even answering me anymore, she started chatting with you.
Yeah, she's like me, she's very sarcastic, so it was good, but you were
I
in pain.
was just, well, no, I think I was just focused, and then you guys were chatting, and all of a sudden this intense pain went in my shoulder and I was strapped and I couldn't do anything, so I said, I don't know what to do, there's this intense pain, so I can't. Like, I just let everyone know. And the anesthesiologist said that's normal, it's gas pockets. I'll give you something for it. He put something in my IV, which all of a sudden, I can't breathe at all. Like, it was like my lungs froze from whatever he gave me. It was only momentary, but it was terrifying. And apparently both of those things were normal.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah. And he was explaining a lot of things to me too, because you know, you got so many drugs in you at the time, and you're going through this ordeal, like you're going through this major surgery awake. So I'm not sure how much you were able to process.
I think at this point, it was fairly quickly that all of a sudden they pulled out, they're like, "Here comes baby A," and they pull out this baby, and she's pink, and was she crying when she came out?
Yeah, and they held her kind of above the sheet. There was the Simba moment, and we all saw her.
Yeah, and we were like, oh, and then we right away knew she looked like me. She was very round face. At this point, they had put Mia in the warming bed, and they had to get Everly out. And I could feel the table tilting and things, and kind of commotion, but I didn't feel anything down here. And apparently we found out later that, because I think you were just watching Mia, that the OB had to actually put her whole arm up inside my abdomen, up to her shoulder, to scoop Everly out. Now, it was only a minute difference between the two. Mia was born at 8:08, Everly was born at 8:09, but they held Everly up, and she was so cute, but very squished, and she had been right up in there. So her head, this is something we didn't know beforehand, but it's very common for multiples and to be born very squished because they're squished in there, and so she looked a little funny.
Sorry, I didn't mean to smile because I kept thinking back and like, you didn't really get to see her, and you're like, "Oh, how does she look?" And I'm like, "She looks like John Travolta."
So she was squished, but and I think that was a little bit of she quickly plumped out, but I was a little concerned about how squishy she was, but apparently that's very normal for that to happen. So they put her on the warming bed, and they were cleaning me up and everything. And Mike was watching, and I was trying to watch. You know, I was kind of not with it, but I could hear commotion, and I knew, and I could see all of a sudden that Mia was just on her own, and everyone was gathered around Everly. And I could hear the doctor explaining to you that Everly was indrawing. So
yeah, I had asked the anesthesiologist, like, "Are you guys done?" And he said, "Yeah, they're just stitching up your wife. Everything's good." I said, "Okay," because I'm going to go over and be with the babies. And so I stood up and I stayed over there, and I stayed out of the way. But yeah, everyone moved from baby A just to baby B, so they were just on Everly's warming bed, like you said, and she was indrawing. So basically she was indrawing, which means that when she was inhaling, it was sucking in her chest. You could see her actual chest cavity kind of concave a bit. Every time she would breathe in, her chest, it was, you know, I guess it shows that they were struggling a little bit to breathe. So they were a little bit concerned. And then they also were doing the weighing, and I guess as all of that was going on, there was a bit of a mix-up with the weights. They had weighed Mia completely naked, nude, nothing on the table, no
like
blankets.
6 pounds 1 ounce or something.
6'1", 6'2",
which is big for a twin.
And when they weighed Everly, they weighed her, and they weighed her with a towel.
Yeah.
And a towel, but what do you call those things? A nursing blanket. They had a nursing blanket wrapped around her, and I noticed they didn't strip it off of her, so I thought nothing of it, and they knew what they were doing. I don't know if they had zeroed out the machine, But anyway, that plays into it a little bit later on
Yeah.
because we were concerned about her weight. But
Yeah.
at that point, they immediately took Everly and they said, not to worry, you guys, just want to let you know. We're taking her to the NICU. Yeah. She'll be there for a few hours. We're going to keep an eye on her, and then we'll update you and we'll let you know. But baby B or baby A, sorry, is good. She was going to stay here, and then we're cleaning her up and giving her vitamin shots and all that.
And you turned to me and you guys told me, and immediately I just said, go be with Everly. Like, just go with Everly. And you went with Everly. So at this point, we were split 2 and 2. So I was in there, so I was still in there. Mia was still in her warming bed. She had nurses again by this point, and you went off with Everly while they cleaned me up. So while you were gone, they cleaned me up. They quite quickly, and then they rolled me into the recovery room. And I'm shaking at this point. Like, shivers had set in. I was shaking. They had bundled me in up, and they put her right in my arms. What did you see when you went with Everly?
Yeah, so she was just in the NICU. They put her in like a larger sized warming bed. It wasn't an incubator or anything, but it was quite large, and it was totally encased just with a top on it. But she was hooked up. They were monitoring, I guess, her breathing and her oxygen and her heart rate and what have you. And that's all they said they were doing. They were just going to monitor her for a few hours and see how she did. And then, yeah, they said a few hours.
What did they say, a few hours?
Yeah, they said it was going to be a few hours. They're going to monitor her, and that was it. And I guess the reason why you're asking is because
she was only in there
for 30
minutes. Yeah.
So by the time I left to come back and update you, and by the time I updated you, they were behind me bringing her in.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah. So then you came back, and I was still shivering, and they're trying to get my blood pressure. Remember, they couldn't get my blood pressure because I was shaking so much, but they wanted to give me the babies. So they put Mia in my arm, and I remember I'm trying to hold her, but I'm worried I'm going to drop her because I'm shaking so much. So I wouldn't. I had a huge bed and everything. And then they put Everly in my arm, and and I'm sitting here like I'm holding 2 babies, and it was pretty exciting. But I think at this point, all I could really think about was how I could not stop. It was like convulsions. It was intense shivering. I think my body was in shock, and it was a reaction from the medication.
You just had surgery.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh yeah. So I think for me, that I remember that being my focus at that point, was even though I had these babies there, I remember thinking, actually, take these babies out of my arms, because I just felt like I couldn't hold them. As I'm holding them in the bed, they wheel us through the hospital. And I had stayed an extra hour in recovery because of my shivering. They couldn't get the blood pressure. They wheel us through the hospital with me in this bed holding my 2 babies, Mike walking beside. So we had some family in the waiting room, and as we're wheeling through, they're like, oh, they're freaking out when that there's the babies, and it was a big draw. Everyone was like, oh, twins. So we get in the room, and I had the best, actually, for the whole hospital stay, I had the best nurses ever, best staff ever. And she was so great. So before anyone could come in, she said, the babies are having a hard time regulating their temperature. They're so little, and you're shaking. So what we're gonna do, so she did skin on skin. She stripped me down, put the twins right on me, so skin to skin, and then blankets over top. And I think at that point is when visitors started trailing in. The funny thing is, a kind of distant family member had her baby down the hall that week, so there was a ton of family.
There's a ton of people already there for her,
yeah, which is exciting. But it was a lot of people. It was fun. I have good memories. I think because no one could hold them, so I had them all to myself, and it drove like family crazy that they could only look but they couldn't touch, and we could tease that they were totally, they did not look alike at all. And but that was a good time. I remember those couple of the best hours of my whole life, just laying there. I stopped shivering. They just slept on my chest, and it was just like we had done it. They were there. I had got through the pregnancy, got through the delivery, and they were there safely, and now it was the next stage, which was really exciting.
Yeah, it was nice. We had a big, we had a double room.
Yes.
But we were the only ones in the room. Yeah. And they said, because you have twins and we don't have a private room for you, we're just going to take the bed out of the other space. So we basically had a double room but to ourselves
having
the
twins,
whole time.
We got spoiled. Yeah. Because we had done it twice before and felt like we were barely there for 24 hours, and you're crammed in a room with other people. But with twins and a C-section, it was like royal treatment. So Yeah, so basically that's the story. We ended up staying in the hospital for 5 days. It was supposed to be
5 days,
3,
yeah.
and this is where that weight thing comes into play, is because we never had that starting point with Everly's weight. It looked as if she kept losing weight, and I was tandem breastfeeding, and we also topped them up with formula, which I'll leave links below. So I have a personal blog, Nesting Story, where I've written lots of articles about my pregnancy and the birth and life after twins, including our hospital stay and breastfeeding and how I figured things out. So I'll leave a link below to my blog and also a bunch of the articles that may interest you. So that's it, that's our story. If you like this video, hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love for you to subscribe. And if you have subscribed, thank you so much. It means so much to us. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.